Good afternoon, everyone. We were reading The Forest of Enchantments by Chitra Banerjee Divakarini. Today we are going to read from chapter 25. Hope you will enjoy our reading session. Thank you.
Chapter 26. Over the next days, Ram and I gave many gifts to the monkey soldiers, jewels and armors, and rare fruits from Ravan's garden, and sent them off to their forest homes. All except Hanuman's, to whom we were all greatly attached, Ram, Lakshman, and I, each having our reasons, for he had served us all in different ways. We requested him to accompany us to Ayodhya and be with us for Ram's long deferred coronation. I secretly hoped he had spent the rest of his life with us and planned to do my best to persuade him. I felt a powerful connection with him, perhaps because he called me Ma and followed me around wherever I went. His demeanor so docile and I had I not know better. I don't have believed what a fearsome man he was. He was always ready to defend himself and always ready to defend us. He would my take up my kingship. His passion infected me. Suddenly, I was ready to return and be his helpmate and the queen. It was a time to put my house in order, to make my own mark on Ayodhya, change a few things, and see my sister, my beloved, forsaken Urmila, whom I had not allowed myself to think about all this while, for I had been afraid that one more sorrow placed on the top of all the others I bore would break me.
Chapter 27. You should use the Pushpa Chariot to return home, Vibhishan said to Ram, pointing to a mountain top where we could vaguely glimpse a gleaming. It would be the safest and quickest way. The chariot knows all places in the three worlds. All you would have to do is to speak your destination and it would take you to Ayodhya. It would be a risky journey. There were many rogue bands of Rakshasas along the way, or admirers of Ravan, that were sure to attack us. Even the great seal that Vibhishan promised us to indicate that we were his honored guest wouldn't deter them. Still, Ram was not happy. Even at a punishing pace, it would take us months to reach home. A cheer went up and we all climbed into Pushpak. Rakshasas and monkeys and bears and us humans, now no longer enemies. Once on board, we were amazed because Pushpak had expanded even further. From time to time, a shimmering light would run across the hall, so perhaps it was all an illusion, separate illusions that Pushpa created for each one of us. There was something quite different that I wanted to share with Ram, something the fire god had told me when I was surrounded by burning flames, just before he took me by the hand and led me back into the world I had thought I was done with. He has come to teach the men, but you have come to teach the women. The lesson you teach will be a quite a one, but as important. I didn't know what the God had meant. I hoped Ram would be able to throw some light on it, but Ram had enough of talk.
Chapter 28. Pushpak landed in a large field outside the palace walls. Ahead of us, I could see the looming gates of the city, lit with smoky torches and a huge silent crowd that had assembled in front of it. I could feel anxiety pulsing through me. Why wasn't there a welcoming party? Why were the people chanting their new king's name? Was Bharat having second thoughts about returning Koshal to his brother? 14 years was a long time, enough time to get addicted to power which was stronger than any intoxicant. Besides me, Lakshman grasped his bow more tightly, his face grim. Only Rama's face was serene. The four brothers laughed and cried and held on to each other as though they had been separated for a lifetime, which in a way they had. But there was something more to this reunion. I tried to, I tried to piece together what must have happened. Bharat had moved out of the palace to the small town of the Nandigram, refusing to enjoy any royal comforts until Ram returned home. He had placed Rama's sandals on the throne there and held the interim court as his representative. Where was Urmila anyway? She hadn't shown up at dinner last night, and when I asked, Mandvi and Shatrakhati had glanced at each other and said she was in her chambers. She wasn't feeling well, she had gone to bed. The physician had instructed them not to disturb her. Let me take a look at her, I said. I've been taking care of her ever since she was a girl. I know which herb will well on her system. But at this, my cousins and their husbands all insisted that I should trouble myself or Urmila at this time.
Chapter 29. The door to Urmila's chambers was massive, made of dark teak and carved from top to bottom with fierce-looking mythical beasts, their mouths open and snarling. Urmila gave instructions that I wasn't to be let in. Had I been overly confident in believing that my sister would forgive me? Finally, when I would just about given up hope, the door was flung open. I was surprised to see that it was Lakshman himself who opened the door. Thank the heavens that you have come, sister-in-law, he cried. I wanted to get you last night itself, but I hesitated to disturb you and my brother after our long journey. Urmila just won't wake up. I have been trying all night. I sent to the city for physicians, but they couldn't help either. Placing my fingers at her nostrils, I could feel Urmila's breath, steady but very slow, as though she were in a coma. My heart lurched in fear. I climbed onto the bed and sat with Urmila's head in my lap. I placed my hands on her forehead, sending her love, trying to feel her spirit. It took a long time. It took a long time, but the spirit, peaceful in its distant abode, would not listen. I tried over and over to no avail. And now it seemed that my sister's breath was fading. It took a whole day before Urmila would speak. This finally was what she told me. On the day the three of you left, I made up my mind to die. What was the use? I thought to myself of living on when I have been rejected by the one man I had adored with all my heart since the day I met him. Ram took you with him. Why then did Lakshman refuse to take me? Was I so unworthy? Well, then I decided I would free myself of this life.
Chapter 30. The problems we had faced upon returning to Ayodhya had not disappeared, but slowly they had become manageable. Ram's policy of ruling firmly and justly, but kindly too, had improved the morale of all who brought their troubles to court. Our people were additionally struck by the fact that Ram freely used the treasure we had brought with us to improve the rundown state of the kingdom. Nowadays, when I accompanied Ram to the public balcony of the palace to greet our citizens, the applause was deafening. This didn't surprise me, but I was taken aback to hear people cheering me as well, because my work was done mostly behind the scenes. For me, this was an especially happy time because I discovered that I was pregnant. My happiness was doubled by the fact that I had been worried that I had been too old for childbearing when I returned. When I shyly announced my news to Ram, he was overjoyed. I think he had been worrying about the same thing. He gave me a beautiful pearl necklace as a gift of gratitude. Ram and I decided that we had announced the pregnancy at the coronation. It would give the people another reason to celebrate and another event to look forward to after the coronation. Things qualified well. The Devisa left after vowing public allegiance to Ram. The monkeys stayed a little longer, but finally they too went back to their homes in the mountains of Kishkinda. Hanuman was the last to leave. I felt a real pang when the day of the departure arrived, when he wouldn't let me be said. Feed me, dear mother, he demanded. I'm going on a long journey to meditate in the Himalayas, and I'm pretty sure I won't get any of your delicious cooking there. When it was time for Hanuman to leave, I couldn't stop my tears. Ram and Lakshman moved away to give me a little privacy. Or perhaps they were uncomfortable with weeping women. Hanuman had made himself small so that he had been conspicuous on this journey. So I had to bend down to speak. Don't leave me, I begged. The babies are coming. I want you to be there to bless and protect them. I'm always with you and with them. There is no living creature in whose heart I don't reside. You need only call upon me to feel my blessings. Focus on mind on me, especially in your dark time. I'll give you strength. What dark time, Lord? I cried in fear. Aren't notable or aren't we safe in Ayodhya now? But the vision was gone. There was only Hanuman touching my feet, saying he had better be on his way. The sun was past its zenith already. Ram said, I was thinking of what you had asked for some time back, a visit to a nearby forest. Do you still want to go? Once the babies come, it won't be possible. So if you want to do it, we should plan it right away. This was a wonderful surprise, something I had never have predicted. Ram had been overprotective of me since the pregnancy, sometimes annoyingly so. My heart spread its wings, soaring at his unexpected gift.
Chapter 32. I could barely hold my excitement in check as I climbed into the chariot that was to take me to Valmiki's ashram. This was my last chance to enjoy the forest before I was plunged into the responsibilities of motherhood, and I was determined to make the most of it. Finally, Lakshman said, Sister-in-law, I ask your deepest pardon, though I know you will never forgive me for this. Please keep in mind, I am only doing what Ram asked. No, commanded me, as my brother, but as my king. I am to leave you in Valmiki's ashram. Yes, I know, I said, still not understanding why he was so upset. That is why we have come here, for me to spend a week in Valmiki's ashram. Not a week, Lakshman said. The rest of your life. Ram is banishing you from his kingdom. My head spun. I had to sit down on the muddy river bank to keep from falling. Was this some kind of a recurrent nightmare I was having? It happened every once in a while. I would wake up gasping, hearing again his voice in my head. Now I have slain Ravan and set you free. Here ends my duty to you and my responsibility. Go where you will to live out the rest of your days. Inside me, the babies somersaulted, agitated by my fear. I said to myself, I did not hear Laxman correctly. What do you mean? Banishing me? I haven't done anything wrong. Are you sure? That is what Ram said. He is the most righteous person I know. He would not do such an unjust thing, especially when I am carrying his children. No, Laxman, don't took away. Explain to me what is going on. I got the story in reluctant pieces from Laxman as the sun sank below the horizon. There were rumors in Ayodhya, people whispering about my chastity. How did Ram know Sita wasn't raped by Ravan? Or worse still, did not give in to his persuasions? She was with him in Lanka for an awfully long time. How do we know that there really was a trial by fire? None of us were there, nor our priests or courtiers, only Ram and Lakshman, and you can't quite call them unbiased, can you? And the child she is carrying, how do we know it's Ram's? She got pregnant so quickly, did not she? She was already showing at the coronation. How do we know when exactly it happened? You know, Ram, Lakshman said sadly, he's always believed that the reputation of a king should be above reproach, and even more so the reputation of a queen. It is what he has built his whole life around. He can't change his nature, no more than a leopard can change its paws. Believe me, I tried everything I could to make him decide otherwise. Finally, he said that if I did not obey him, he would banish me to the forest too. Rage had receded from me. My teeth were chattering. I felt cold, cold and defeated. But why did not he tell me any of this? I said. Why did not he explain what was going on? I would have understood. I would have been angry. Yes, but I would also have sympathized with him. Don't I know how important his reputation as king is to him? Together, we might have come up with a better plan. And even if we could not have come up with a solution, at least I would have been part of the decision, not a victim of it. I choked up with tears. I tried to swallow them, but they kept coming. My babies, the most innocent, the most wrong. I could feel them inside me, trembling, clutching at each other, sensing that something terrible had happened. Don't be afraid, little ones, I whispered, pushing my way determinedly into the dark, even though I had no idea of what it held. Hot tears scalded my cheeks. I am going to live for you. I am going to guard you with my last breath. I am going to love you enough for mother and father both, so you feel no lack. I am going to teach you everything you need to know to be princess. But more than that, I will teach you what you need to know to be good human beings, so that you will never do to a woman what your father has done to me.
The first few days in the ashram, I was numb. The determination I had experienced the night I walked away from Lakshman had vanished. Its place taken by a thick, sticky depression that mired me so that both past and future seemed unreal and disconnected. I swallowed without complaining or enjoying enough of whatever food the wives of the sages brought me to keep them from getting concerned. I cried hysterically until I threw up, and my stomach hurt so much that the woman had to call Indra. I was curled on the floor when she arrived. She helped me get up and wash myself off. And then she spoke to me kindly but firmly, in a tone that reminded me of my own mother. Sunaina, you know that if you believe like this, you will hurt the babies, don't you? And you certainly aren't helping yourself either. I nodded, silent and shamefaced. I can't stop myself. Pull yourself together, she says sternly. You are not some weak willed wench. You can control your emotions. Remember all that you have survived. Behave like the queen you are. No one can take your dignity away from you. You lose it only by your own actions. Before she left, She gave me a hug and said, "Remember also that you are not alone. Valmiki and I are happy to have you stay with us as long as you want for the rest of your life. If you wish, your children will be part of our ashram family."
Chapter 34. I woke up with a ragging pain and know it was the time. Indra and Dharni tended me along, along with a couple of younger women, while outside the hut, Valmiki and other rishis chanted prayers. I asked Indra if they did this for every child born in the ashram, but she shook her head. The contraction came faster now. I cried out, partly in pain, partly in sorrow, that my children won't be welcome to this earthly life by their father. But when I saw them, red and wrinkled, shadowed tight in the soft white cloth woven by my friends, I forgot all the sadness. Indra placed them on my cheek and where they didn't cry but listened wide-eyed to my voice calling them. The Valmiki came in and blessed the boys and named them Lava and Kush. I had never heard such name, but the sage said they come to him in a meditation. These boys would be raised like no other. The greatest teacher would be their mother. The world would be that of their hermitage. Their playground would be the forest. Because of their strength would be unique. Soon after they were old enough, Valmiki make sure Love and Kush received a proper education. In the mornings, along with all the boys, they were sent for study to Valmiki Gurukuls. They learned the Vedas with all the rituals that they brought blessing to humanity. In the evenings, though, the Valmiki took them aside for the private lesson. This is where they learned about wartime strategies and peacetime statesmanship, how to direct an army into right decision when people brought you complicated disputes, how to interweave justice with mercy. At first, I was astonished by the breadth of Valmiki's knowledge. How could a simple rishi possibly know such complicated statecraft? They hugged me often, not caring who might watch at the night. They laying either of my side with their arm around my neck, asking for stories. Their hunger for stories was insatiable, and they won't allow me to repeat the tale. I had to search deep to my childhood memory and was often forced to use my imagination. Thank you.
Chapter 35. For a while now, Valmiki had been composing his life's work, the Ramayana, the story of Ram's adventure as hero and king. He had started it long before I arrived at the ashram, so I didn't take it personally. I was afraid he might ask me for details of our life together, but he never did. Tonight, the boys were very late. They always returned before dark. I had made them promise they would. My heart beat unevenly as I listened. I grabbed a torch, ready to fling it at the creature, whatever it was. But when it appeared, I stood open mouthed because there in front of me was the most beautiful horse I had ever seen. Where did you get this horse? I said suspiciously. He was so beautiful that I would have taken him to be a creature of magic, except that no magic could enter the hermitage. But why were you so late coming home? The boys jumped off the horse and hugged me. Sorry to make you worry, Ma, Kush said, but we had to defend our horse. People were trying to take him away from us. What people? It was some kind of army, actually, Love said. They told us the horse belonged to a king. What happened to the army? I asked. Kush grinned. We defeated them, of course. With shaking hands, I was busy examining the boys' bodies for wounds, but there were none. Love touched my face gently and said, Don't worry, Ma, they couldn't hurt us. We prayed for your blessings and conjured a shield of magic arrows around us. We know nothing would get through it. Kush added, We could have killed them all easily, even the four generals. though they were quite good at fighting and had some fine astras of their own. But we remembered what you told us, so we didn't. Instead, we called on our unconsciousness astra and our binding astra, and the blood pounded in my ears. What for generals? I whispered. Love creased his brows. They said they belonged to the Raghu dynasty. We couldn't hear everything. It was noisy there, with all those soldiers that kept rushing up, trying to kill us. The names are on the necklace, Kush said, holding it up for me. Mother, are you all right? I grabbed the horse's neck to keep from falling. Even before I read the embossed plaque that hung from the necklace, I knew what it would say. The great monarch Ram, son of Dasharath of Raghuvamsa, is performing. The rest of the words faded away. Take me to the leader, I cried. He's your father. Even before Love and Kush pointed him out, I sensed his presence and rushed forward. I fell to my knees and held his still blood-streaked face in my hands. He was bound with cords that sparkled and crackled as though they were made of lightning, and in a moment the bonds faded away, not only from Ram, but also from his brothers who had fallen around him. While we were walking on to the field, I had told the boys their history. A distraught Love had asked, "But why didn't you explain this to us earlier, Ma, instead of letting us think we were Rishi Kumars? Then we would never have done something so terrible today." "What would I have told you?" I said sadly. "That your father, though a great and valiant king, had vanished me for no fault of my own, because of frivolous gossip, that he cared more for the stability of his kingdom and the brilliance of his reputation than he did for his innocent unborn children? Wouldn't you have hated him if I had done so? Wouldn't you have grown up angry and resentful and dissatisfied with the ashram, and perhaps blaming me, thinking that you should be in the palace instead?" I felt a tingling in my palms, and then a burst of energy surged through my body. I didn't know where it came from, the earth, the sky, or my own heart. Perhaps it didn't matter. My body grew light, almost as if it would lift off the ground. I placed my hands against Ram's chest and repeated the healing chant. It was time for Ram to leave, too, but he was delaying for some reason. "There was another thing," he said to Valmiki, speaking so softly that I had to strain to hear. In my swoon, I thought her voice, she was taking care of. I clasped my hands tightly together. He was talking about me. Somewhere in the depths of his being, he had felt my presence. Ram said, shaking his head as though to clear it, "Revered sage, thank you for restoring our horse. Now the yagna can be completed. I invite you most humbly to come to Ayodhya with all your disciples to bless the yagna on this holy occasion." "I accept your gracious invitation," Valmiki said magnanimously. He sent a triumphant flash of a glance towards the banyan tree, where he knew we were hiding. "But how will you conduct the yagna? I believe a king has to have a wife by his side when he makes the final offering. Has there been a wedding in Ayodhya that, sequestered as I am in the forest here, I didn't know about?" Ram's face was pained but also resolute. "No, great sage, I have not married again. I have been true to vow I made at my wedding to take only one life partner. I have a golden image of—" Here he stumbled over his words. "My wife by my side. The priests have said that would suffice." "I will bring my senior disciples with me," Valmiki added. "They will chant auspicious mantras to bring prosperity and happiness to your kingdom and to you." Ram sighed. "I thank you. I would greatly appreciate your prayers. For some reason, though Ayodhya's treasury is fuller than ever before and its citizens healthy and prosperous, it's lacking something, some kind of life, some joy has gone out of the city. No, the entire kingdom. I wonder how that could have happened," the sage said. Another man might have grown suspicious at this overly innocent tone, but Ram only sighed again and said, I hope your blessings will bring us some peace. In fact, to enhance your joy, I will bring three special gifts for you when I come to your court. No, no, don't ask me what they are. You will just have to curb your curiosity until the day of the yagna. I know now what I must do, he said. I will take the boys to the yagna. There, in the court of the king, after the ceremony is ended, they will sing his life story, my Ramayana, which I am now ready to complete, having envisioned clearly how it is to end. When the king sees love and Kush, he, along with the entire court, will recognize that they are his sons, and he will accept them as his heirs. And our mother, Kush added, will he accept Ma too? You'd better, Love said belligerently. Otherwise, I'm not staying in Ayodhya. But Valmiki had hurried on ahead, perhaps so that he wouldn't have to answer them, and I followed his lead.
Epilogue. It is the morning of the journey to Ayodhya. Love and Kush are excited beyond measure. They have made me wash their clothes, the simple dhotis that all of Valmiki's disciples wear, twice. They have sat impatiently but compliant. I hugged them hard, suddenly panicking, not wanting to let go. I have no reason to be afraid. I know Valmiki will take excellent care of them. Plus, they have proved that they are eminently capable of protecting themselves. But there's a bad feeling inside me. I look desultorily for my Sitayana, wanting to add a few lines, hoping it would distract me. But it isn't where I thought I put it, and I don't have the energy to search. Early morning, I wait for hours at the gate of the ashram, hoping for news. What are the boys doing now? I wonder. Have they sung the Ramayana yet? Has their father recognized them? Will he really accept them, like Valmiki thinks? I want so much of them, and yet I dread it because that will mean that they will never come back. What will happen of me then? One morning, Indira Ma interrupts my prayers. A messenger has come from the court. He tells me that after the yagna was successfully completed, Valmiki asked Love and Kush to sing his great composition. Ram listened intently, tears running down his face, and at the end he embraced the twins and accepted them as his sons and declared in front of the entire assembly that they would be his heirs. I am weeping so hard, happiness for the boys, a dreadful emptiness for me, that I don't hear what else the messenger is telling me until Mother Indira says, when does she have to leave? Today, the messenger says. The king wants her in the court as soon as possible. I wipe my eyes and look, and there's a palanquin, huge and glittering and embossed with the seal of the house of Raghu. 16 bearers standing ready to carry me away. Extra bearers, the messengers tells me, are waiting along the way, so we will not have to stop anywhere. All the way back to Ayodhya, my heart swaying in a time with the palanquin, and I think of many things, seeing my dear Urmila after all these years, and my sons now, as they are officially princes. But most of all this, he loves me, he wants me, he loves me, he wants me. Urmila's children run in, telling Love and Kush were busy in the court, singing something very long and difficult for Uncle Ram. He must really write the Ramayana. I think if he's making them sing it again, I'm happy for Valmiki because he worked very hard on the epic, even though he didn't get it quite right. I think of my own Sitayan, wondering where I had left it. Perhaps if I send a messenger to Indira, she will be able to find it and send it to me. Even if no one else ever sees it, it will comfort me to possess a record of the truth. Many times I thought of leaving the palace, going to the ashram to be with you, Urmila says. What was done to you was wrong, and I felt guilty that by remaining in Ayodhya, I was condoning that. She sighed. But I couldn't leave the children, and I couldn't leave Lakshman. He would be so lonely without me because I am the only one to whom he can confide his doubts and sorrows. You don't have to explain, I say. That's love, golden ropes that bind you and pull you in different directions. The women have almost finished dressing me when Saudamini comes rushing into the room. Her face is pale, her lips tremble. She whispers something into Urmila's ear, that makes my sister sit down heavily on her bed. Saudamini heard that Ram is planning another Agni Pariksha for you. She didn't believe it at first, but then she crept into the alcove behind the wall with one of the court's servants and saw it. A great pile of wood in the middle of the hall, surrounded by large pots of ghee, all ready to be lit. He wants me to go through another test by fire, I ask. I want her to tell me that's ridiculous. I want her to say you heard it wrong. But she's silent, eyes lowered. After the pain and humiliation I suffered last time, I ask. After the gods themselves proclaimed me innocent, after all his apologies, this is why he wanted to bring me to Ayodhya. Urmila raised her eyes. They are bright with anger and tears. She says, don't do it. Return to the ashram and preserve your dignity. No, I say. I will not run away. I will meet Ram, just as he wishes. But not like this, dressed up as a queen. Because I am not a queen any longer. I am Sita, the forest dweller. Sita, the daughter of earth. And yes, Sita, daughter of fire as well. I begin to remove my ornaments and unbraid my hair. I ask the maids to bring back my simple ashram sari. The first thing I hear when I enter the royal court is my boys singing. Their high, clear voices that lodge in my heart. Their tones, innocent yet powerful, rise all the way to the high ceilings of this ancient room that has seen so much already, both tragedies and triumphs. They are seated on Ram's right, on silver thrones that indicate their princely stature. They are the only ones who see me. No one else notices because every single person in the room is mesmerized by the purity of their singing, their passion, and their conviction. I too listen. I listen with my whole body because this may be the last time I'll hear them. Their beautiful voices pierce my entire being. I struggle to hold in my tears, my pride, my joy. Ah, love is the sharpest, sweetest weapon of all. Then I recognized what they are singing. It's not Valmiki's great epic. They are singing the pages I had written in my lonely darkness, out of the need to give voice to all of us who were pushed to the edges, misjudged, misunderstood. My truth, and the truth of the women whose lives touched mine for better or worse. Their laughter and tears, their triumph and their suffering, their blessing and the curses. Love and Kush must have conspired and taken the manuscript from our hut when I was busy elsewhere. They must have practiced singing it in secret, and they must have decided to perform it in my honor, risking the anger of their guru as well as their new-found father to tell the world my story. I'm weeping as I listen to them sing the Sitayana. Their eyes met mine, and they're weeping too. And this is one of the final things I learn about love. It's found in its purest form on this imperfect earth between mothers and young children because there's nothing they want except to make each other happy. The song ends, the last immaculate notes float away. As though they are released from a trance, people blink and wipe their eyes and look around. That is when they see me. A whisper goes around the hall until it reaches Ram, who is even now lost in the world of Sitayan. He raises his eyes, which are still unfocused, and I see that his face is wet with tears. He continues, I would like you to come back to Ayodhya and live with us so that we can be a complete family. The children need you, and I do too. As though you, I have never taken another wife. But there's one thing you must do first. You must go through a test by fire here in this courtroom, so that the sages and attending kings and ministers of the court can witness the fire god vouching for your innocence and purity. In this way, the citizens of Ayodhya will be satisfied for good. Rage rises up in me until my whole body is scorched. For some kinds of burning don't require fire. Not a word of love, not a word of apology for the sorrow he has caused me, not a word about the unjust and cruel way in which he sent me away. He hasn't even called me by my name. It's clear to me now what I need to do. Anger and self pity are useless emotions, so I push them away and speak calmly, even though my heart is breaking all over again. O King of Ayodhya, I address you in this way because you have always placed your role as a king ahead of your role as a husband. I ask you this, for I have been a citizen of Ayodhya too. Did you act justly when you sent me away to the forest, knowing I was innocent of what gossip mongers whispered? And if you were not, shouldn't someone be judging you today? O King of Ayodhya, you know I am innocent, and yet, unfairly, you are asking me to step into the fire. You offer me a tempting prize indeed, to live in happiness with you and my children. But I must refuse, because if I do what you demand, society will use my action forever, ever after to judge other women. Even when they aren't guilty, the burden of proving their innocence will fall on them, and society will say, why not? Even Queen Sita went through it. I can't do that to them. For the sake of my sons, I made myself live when it would have been much easier to give up and die than to go through the pain of having the person you love most in the world abandon you. For the sake of my daughters in the centuries to come, I must now stand up against the unjust action you are asking of me. I wish you all the happiness with my dearest love and Kush. I bless this land, its men and women. I bless my sons, and finally, I bless my daughters who are yet unborn. I pray that if life tests them, as sooner or later life is bound to do, they will be able to stand steadfast and think carefully, using their hearts as well as their heads, understanding when they need to compromise and knowing when they must not. And that's why, O King Ram, I must reject your kind offer to allow me to prove my innocence again, because this is one of those times when a woman must stand up and say no more. As I speak, a powerful energy courses through me. Underneath my feet, the earth cracks open with a deafening roar. The wood around me ignites, leaping flames around me, forming a protective barrier. Beyond them, I can see Love and Kush struggling mightily to get to me, but Ram's brothers hold them back. My heart wrenches at the anguish in their voices as they call to me, Mother, please, don't go, don't leave us alone here. Ram is running towards the fire, his arms outstretched, his crown falling unheeded to the floor. But he cannot pass through the flames. Sita, he cries desperately. Sita, Sita. But he's saying something quite different with his heart. And because I am no longer fully in this mortal world, I can hear it. Forgive me, dearest, no matter what I did, no matter what I prioritized, though everything, I have always loved you. Forgive me, though I don't deserve it. Is that a golden chariot rising up from the darkness of Patal to carry me away? I step forward and set my foot on it. Around me, celestial flowers are falling in a crystal shower. Or are they the tears of the gods who crowd the skies, looking down in sorrow and admiration at my final act of self respect? I have one last thing I must do before I turn back from woman to goddess, before my new world. I forgave you a long time ago, I say to Ram, though I didn't know it until now, long time ago, because this is the most important aspect of love, whose other face is compassion. It isn't doled out drop by drop. It doesn't measure who is worthy of it and who isn't. It is like an ocean, unfathomable, astonishing, measureless.